The last part of plant physiology that we'll be looking at is the growth of plants. So with physiology, we first looked at water relations in plant. Now water moves through the plant, and then also the process of transpiration. Then we looked at photosynthesis, which is the use of light and carbon dioxide and water to produce sugars and oxygen. We also looked at carbohydrate metabolism, which deals with the conversion of glucose that was formed by photosynthesis. And then in the last part of the previous session, we looked at respiration, which is the use of sugars in plants for its own growth. So how does this growth take place? The thing that stimulates plant growth is what is called hormones, and very similar to the hormones that we have in our own human bodies, but we'll get to the differences just now. So what is a plant hormone? It is an organic compound that is formed in one part of the plant and transported to another where it causes a physiological reaction. So when you talk about growth of plants, if you remember about the anatomy, it is in the meristems or the meristematic tissue. And for that tissue to divide and to grow, hormones are released and needed, and those hormones are formed in one part of the plant and then transported to the parts where it is needed. Now in humans, there's approximately 50 hormones, and we're much more fortunate in plants. There's only 5 hormones that you need to know about, and these 5 hormones all play a specific part inside plants. The first hormone, plant hormone that you need to know about is called auxin, and auxin stimulates cell division. So it's involved in cell growth, with growth of the plant. It's also involved in flowering and fruit development. So what is its use in agriculture? Auxin is used in weed killers such as Roundup. And the reason for that is because if you spray Roundup and you spray that auxin, it stimulates the plant to grow. So what happens when you spray Roundup and the plant dies? Because it overgrows itself. So it speeds up growth to such an extent that that plant dies because it releases too much energy for the growth. It's not only used in negative ways in agriculture, it's also used in positive ways in growth hormones. So if you take cuttings, like what we discussed in vegetative propagation, you can dip those cuttings in a growth powder, which also contains auxin. Because auxin stimulates cell division, that growth powder will stimulate the meristems and the growth tissue here to form new roots or stems or leaves. The second plant hormone that you need to know is called gibberellin, and that hormone is involved in cell elongation and increase in size. And what it basically does is it improves flowering and fruit development. So again, how is it used in agriculture? Basically, it's used in growth of fruits. So just as an example, how they use gibberellin, if you are a producer of seedless grapes, sometimes you get, or most of the times you get a smaller grape because that gibberellin is released by developing seeds. So a cultivar that has no seeds will not release gibberellin, so the fruits will not grow bigger. So what farmers do is they artificially spray seedless grapes with gibberellin to produce larger grapes. The third plant hormone that you need to know is cytokinin, and cytokinin is involved in cell division and more importantly seed germination, also fruit development, and it causes a decrease in the aging of plant organs. Again, how is it used in agriculture? It is basically used as a spray to increase yield. Again, because of cell division, fruit development and seed germination. If the plant hormone cytokinin is provided to plants, it will stimulate plant growth and then in the end increase yields. Then there's also abscisic acid, and abscisic acid causes abscissation and seed dormancy. Abscissation is basically when, like in autumn, when a plant starts to lose its leaves, that loss of leaves is caused by abscisic acid. How is it used in agriculture? It regulates drought stress by having an effect on the stoma. You remember the stomata is the little air holes on leaves with the guard cells that opens and closes through turgor pressure. So abscisic acid influences the guard cells and regulates them to open and close as the water increases or decreases. The last plant hormone that you need to know about, and probably the most important one, or one that you might have heard of before, is ethylene. And ethylene is only involved in fruit ripening. And this is most commonly used in agriculture. You even get it in a spray bottle. And that is, it's like this one, it's ethylene, the wonder ripening gas. So if you have unripe avocados or bananas, you can spray them with the spray and they will ripen more quickly. So how it's used is some types of fruits are picked green, for example, tomatoes and bananas. And while they're in transport in those big trucks, they are sprayed with ethylene so that they ripen as they are driven to their destinations.